What's up, trash talkers? Listen, it's impossible to fight, okay, if you don't know what you're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, if you're in the dumps and you're struggling with mental health, things of that nature, it's going to continue tearing you down, all right? Because you're consistently trying to fight something, which is that demon, which is usually something from the past, right? Maybe that why needs to be fighting for your future. Let that be your why. Get the hell up and start fighting for your future. Stop fighting things that happened in the past. Easier said than done, right? Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. A lot of people need to hear this. You are more of a warrior and a fighter if you stand up and say, hey, this has to stop. I need to go seek help. The stigma, everything has changed. It's okay not to be okay.
Here is a firm believer in all men are created equal, but not all men live equal. That is why there's a certain select number of people in the DoD who decided to jump out of airplanes. And yes, we are better than you. 100%. Now, don't be the first triggered pansy to say, well, airborne's not relevant. You haven't jumped since World War II. Well, that's not accurate, for one. And two, it's like having a jalopy or a 68 Mustang. Well, a 68 Mustang's no longer relevant. Doesn't matter. It's still a better car than yours. So take it easy this National Airborne Day and just accept that we are better than you.
So, two things for today's Honesty Cap. First thing, how do all my boys from the 101st feel knowing that the Army decided that instead of actually making you airborne, they would just create a whole new division that's airborne because you just aren't cutting it? It sucks. Thing number two, for all the folks who were like, oh, airborne is irrelevant, doesn't even matter. They're making a whole new division of just airborne people because they're relevant. Think about that. How's that feel? Does it hurt a little bit? I hope it hurts a little bit.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
All right, what's up, Trash Talkers? What's up, Gruntworks Nation? We are live for the Veteran Trash Talk Hour. I think we're like on season 17, episode 4000. But what did it say? Season 2, episode 10?
Volume 12, I think.
Volume 12. Okay, Volume 12, 6th edition. We don't really know what's going on. All we do know is that we go live every Saturday except for holiday weekends in July. And we just like to come and shoot the shit and promote veteran-owned businesses and first responder-owned businesses and see what people are doing and having a good time doing it. And, of course, we're sponsored by 10th Mountain Whiskey, so we get paid in booze. And that's always a good thing. So go ahead and go there and put in a code VTT, get yourself a discount. But with us today, we got Kevin. Now, how do I pronounce your last name properly?
Scythe.
Scythe. Like that's what I would say, but I don't want to screw it up because I don't usually introduce the show or the guest. But we have a guy who claims to speak 3 languages who's not here. All right, because again, we just do it live 1 hour a Saturday, and you just couldn't find the time to make it. And don't know where he is. He's flying from Lawton, Oklahoma to who knows. But Dave, congrats to your boy for graduating basic training, and we're excited for him and see where he goes in his career. Then with us, we got
excuse.
Yeah, it is. And we got Buddy with us today and our guest, Kevin. So without further ado, I mean, I don't think Chris has a shirt ready to get promoted, but Buddy and I are both wearing the Quit Being a Triggered Pansy shirt. All right, it's our #1 seller at shop.veterantrashtalk.com. Remember, it's not political. It's just a reminder to yourself. And I always wear it when I'm traveling because of how much I hate people in airports. So I just want to, I take it and I breathe and I go, they're just bad human beings. Someone who stands up in the 14th row right when we park, he's a bad human being. Just sit down. You ain't going nowhere for 15 freaking minutes. But that's See, I'm already getting triggered just thinking about it. But anyways, let's get to the honesty cap. Let's get crack-a-lacking with this.
Okay, so I know that I have a problem with animals. Like I know wild animals and me, we don't get along. We've talked about homeless dogs before, and we've talked about the geese going across the road, and I get it. Maybe I have a problem. Maybe I need to go get therapy. But so I work on Fort Campbell all the time. I have to go to the ranges all the time. So I'm always driving in the back 40. And anybody that's been on a military reservation knows that the deer on military reservations are geniuses. Like they know when hunting season starts, and when it does, they migrate to the impact areas. They're smart deer. They're not stupid. And there's hundreds of them. Literally in a 10-mile stretch, you can see 60 or 70 deer during the spring, summer, and fall. Starts getting around hunting season, they go to the impact area, so you can't see them. Now, what does annoy me about these fucking deer, though, is that in the spring, summer, and fall, if you happen to be driving on the backside of any Army post at night, they're all over the fucking place, but they'll stand right on the side of the road. And then when your fucking lights hit them, they do this weird college football juke move, and you don't know which fucking way they're going, whether they're going into the road and they're going to total out your fucking car, or if they're going to run to the wood line. I've been bothered by this for an abnormally long period of time. I triggered, yes, maybe. Last night, I was driving back from the range, and I think I figured it out. I am 100% convinced that these fucking genius deer found trail cams, and they've set them up in little ambush sites, right? And there's like 1 or 2 deer that sit on the side of the road. There's 20 or 30 of them just chilling in the wood line. And as soon as you fucking drive by, they do their little juke move. The trail cam takes a picture of your face, and then they go back in the wood and make fucking fun of you for the rest of the fucking night. They're drinking beers and talking shit about that. But did you see that dude's face? He almost pulled off on the fucking side of the road. What a fucking idiot. They're the worst types of animals. I think that I hate them more than I hate the geese and the homeless dogs. That is my honesty cap. I fucking hate them. There's too many of them. We should be able to do drive-bys on deers on any Army base. You should just be able to fucking smoke them out the side of the car while you're driving, not even pick them up. Just teach them a lesson. There you go. That's all I got.
Some hate coming down.
They're horrible. They're fucking horrible. They're the rats of Army bases.
Not as good as your how much you hate ducks and geese that walk across the road.
They're fucking drunkards.
Yeah, well, that makes sense because they have wings and they should just fly across the road, and then everybody stops and thinks they're cute and takes pictures, and you're late to your appointment now. And it's like, but it's funny that you brought this up because I heard on the radio today that they're using AI and animal noises to see if they can figure out how these animals are communicating. Is there anything to that? Like, do you think that maybe AI proves you're right and these deer are mocking you?
I guarantee it does. I'm going to start fucking recording them and then going on Chat GTP and fucking putting my damn recording through there and be like, what is this deer saying? Guaranteed they're making fun of me. Guaranteed.
What do you think,
I don't
Kevin?
like being mocked. I don't like being mocked. Like Doc Hollywood or whatever. Like I don't like being, or not Doc
Holiday.
I don't like being mocked. You know what I mean? And I'm guaranteed, like if you recorded it, they're in the woods, dying laughing, like bellied over. I hope they get their antlers stuck in the fucking ground. That's what I hope. Fucking asshole. Yeah. All day. I don't know if they have them. Kevin, do they have deer on Navy? What do you guys call bases? Are they bases? Post docks.
I mean, it really depends what the Navy's so fragmented. So for anyone not knowing who I am, because Big Earl over there did such a great intro. Former Navy, former
we
Marine.
intro you later more in depth.
Okay. Yeah, so I've been both Navy and Marine. Bases, Naval Amphibious
Camps?
Base, Oceania Naval. Yeah, you got Naval Air Stations, but then you have amphibious bases, 32nd Street. I'm trying to think what that. I just call it 32nd Street, North
That's in
Island.
San Diego, right?
Yeah,
No.
but I've always heard it called Naval 32nd Street. I've never actually heard like Base 30 or Base San Diego.
So we don't know.
Do you have
Yeah.
deer there? I bet you don't. I bet they don't.
Yeah, it's the middle of
Seals
San Diego.
probably.
It's like
You
downtown
have,
San
seals
Diego.
that are doing it. They're probably.
It's like do you have
seals,
deer walking through Manhattan? No.
Yeah, not like seals.
Well,
Like
in the movie with Will Smith, they did.
Yeah, in post-apocalyptic,
Yeah.
there's also zombies and vampires, whatever the fuck those
And
things were.
lions. Yeah.
There was a lion, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
anywho.
But no, Navy bases typically. Actually, deer do like to swim, though. It's weird. My wife's from Staten Island. Fun fact: there's a shit ton of deers on Staten Island, and they swim across the river to New Jersey. That's how they got into Staten Island.
Huh.
They can swim well. So
Now
not
you
only are
know.
they mocking you, but they know that they can swim faster than you.
I can't swim faster.
I
than
mean,
me.
they got 4 legs. I mean, we have 2.
They got hooves,
Goddamn.
man.
I'm a
Have you tried
goddamn
swimming
diver.
like with fists?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
very efficient.
Yeah.
Not
But
that-
they have 4 fists. So
Is 4 fists better than 2 open palms?
I mean, Chat GPT should be able to tell us after this study's done.
I
Yeah.
don't I think
Well, I brought up
I would put myself against a deer in a swimming race.
I thought you were going to say
that,
in a fight. I was like, I would not take that bet.
I would not do that one. No, I've seen how that works out.
Yeah.
It's not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, that brought up a flashback when I was in the Q course, and I was not the Q course in a selection. Didn't quite make it to the Q course, but we were on the Star course, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to cut right to this little pond. You know, because I was
Not a good
really
idea.
good at I was really good at landing. If I found all 8 points, but I wanted to cut off like an hour so I get some sleep, and I'm like, I just go through this pond, I'll be good. And I'm working my way through it, and there is a deer that couldn't swim as well, that just like floated right up to me, and it was dead. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go back out of this swamp. I'm gonna go back around it. Just wanted to save an hour of sleep. But I was like, oh God, what is that? So
Were you at Bragg when that guy got mauled by the deer? He got the buck was out on a run in Area J. This buck came up and beat his ass and then stabbed him with his antler.
yeah.
Like
yeah.
that
Probably
is-
deserved it.
Was it a
should
deer
run it
or was
back.
it another guy just happened to be running down a range road and just magically disappears on Fort Bragg because he pissed off a Delta operator? It's like,
Yeah, well, that happens.
like-
You gotta pay that money, dude. You gotta pay that
Mhm.
money.
But I man, I don't know. I do think animals talk. I believe in
100%.
I believe like in the Disney like thing, you know, and I was hunting these 2 squirrels when I was living in El Paso, and these things they mocked me. Like they would dig into our cacti, you know, planters that my wife had spent a lot of my money on, right? And we had these blue agaves that are nice and beautiful and expensive, and they would eat the roots. And it's like, I got something for you. I got a little pellet gun, and these things would, you make the slightest sound, like just anything, and then they come right back up and they look up over the wall and then they go back down. I'm like, these motherfuckers are talking to each other. Like they got a recon guy out, and then the other one's going in and burying in. They're causing distractions over here, and then another one buries itself in there. I'm like, these guys are working too hard. But yeah, that's a good one. What about you, Kevin? What's before we get to the introduction and talk about what you do? What's good in your world?
We got all kinds of good stuff here. I mean, first off, I live in San Diego, so life's just
Yeah.
better in general. I saw you guys talking about life's just better as an airborne. Well, life's better in San Diego. Don't move here. It's already too crowded, though.
Yeah.
Apparently, you've never been to the Emerald of the Southeast, Clarksville, Tennessee. So
I actually have been there. It's
you guys have
It's-
the ocean.
my
You've got a river.
my
kinda the
wife's
same.
best friend is married to an infantry guy, and they were stationed out there and lived
Yeah.
in Clarksville.
Yep.
That place
Like I
was
said,
depressing.
The
To say-
Emerald
I'm just
of
gonna
the
leave it at that. Just depressing. The claim to fame is you're an hour outside Nashville.
45 minutes. Thank you very much.
It's like Canada saying our claim to fame is that we're right next to America.
True. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Our 100% is our claim that you can go to Nashville, get hammered, and Uber back for less than $100. So
it's not terrible. It's not terrible.
Not terrible. Well, you know what? At least you don't have to take a ferry to get across.
Like a boat ferry? Oh, I don't live in Coronado. No, that Coronado is beautiful. Coronado is Pleasantville. Like, it is great to look at. It is a cool place to visit. I have zero desire to live there. It has, first off, it's outrageously expensive, but more importantly, everything on the island. It's not really an island; it's a peninsula. It's got the shaft, the strand where Buds actually happens. But everything, like, there's not much on there. There's like one grocery store, 2 gas stations, other than the ones on base. All the restaurants closed by 8 or 9, and they kicked off all the good bars. You know, there's still Danny's and McPee's, the team guy bars. But with the military cracking down on drinking in the military, you know, no one's going to – first off, very few team guys live on the island, which means they're all driving down to Imperial Beach, or they're going across the bridge back to San Diego. So you have to drive after you finish drinking. And the Navy – in the middle, I'm sure the Army's the same way. They do not fuck around if you get caught with a couple drinks. So nobody goes drinking at Danny and McPee's anymore, except for if they can do a lunchtime quick beer, or they're there for the weekend. It's not Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen anymore, where there's raging all hours.
How many bridges, speaking of that, how many bridges have you jumped off of?
I was thinking of the exact same scene when he brought up Charlie Sheen. I was the exact same scene. I'm like, how many weddings did you have to leave early because your pagers went off?
Oh, my God. Pagers.
We still use pagers. Us and Hezbollah are pretty much the only ones still using pagers. Hezbollah apparently got rid of theirs recently. I heard that there was a glitch.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's our number one selling shirt of the month is subscribe to TNT Mobile, and we'll give you 72 virgins.
Couldn't happen to a better. Do you realize the amount of forethought that has to go into tricking people into buying a bomb to put on their hip?
I'm still trying to figure out, because I've heard you mentioned conspiracy theories.
Ooh,
I want to know. I'm sure they're never going to bring it up because they don't want to. Whoever did it, I know the Israelis haven't actually claimed it, but whoever did it, they're not actually saying what they did. I've heard 2 things. One, they somehow got explosives in all of these pagers and walkie-talkies and other things. That seems very difficult. The other thing I heard was that they were somehow able to, how when we're doing trigger locations, like they're looking for cell phones, and even if the guys have them turned off, our capabilities can turn them on or still kind of track them. That somehow Mossad was able to figure out how they can send an energy surge through a lithium-ion battery that was making it able to basically overpower and pop. And there's enough energy stored up in these batteries that it was actually a mini explosion, which was just like taking off Hezbollah's nuts, literally.
Yeah, they ended up figuring out that they bought them all from one shell company out of Taiwan. So they all.
I guess there's only so many people still making pagers.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, it's part of the conspiracy.
That company doesn't exist the day after it went. It was like, oh, we don't exist anymore.
Well, it's also not confirmed, but it was apparently the technology was from an Indian dude, an actual Indian dude, the red dot, and he came to, I guess, to America in a conference like the week before they all started blowing up, and now he's all of a sudden missing.
Yeah.
It's like
that'll happen.
Yeah,
I do love a good conspiracy.
I don't think he's dead though.
That is the same group of people we talked about it on a show not too long ago. That when they were fighting, when they got into the war with Egypt, Syria, and everybody else, they and Jordan, the Syrian side that they were fighting against, they kind of decimated them. But the reason that they knew where all their fighting positions were is because they had gotten a dude so high into the Syrian government that was a Mossad agent that like 10 or 15 years before that, they were visiting all of their fighting positions that are like facing Israel. And he was like, yeah, these are great, but it's these soldiers, like, it's terrible that they're out here in the sun. We should plant trees by all of their fighting positions so that they have shade. Like, it's for the soldiers. So they did it. So when Israel was fighting them, they just targeted every place, every clump of trees. That's where their fighting positions
It's
were.
like aiming stakes with mortars.
Yeah, like it's.
We should also put a candy cane stripe on this tree to increase morale.
Maybe have them whenever combat is happening, have them put a large flag up right above their position.
We don't want to have them hit each other.
Yeah, let's make sure that we put like some type of coordinate on that flag. Like, that way they know exactly where they need to hit. Yeah.
That guy was sitting around after having a beer, laughing with his friends, and be like, check out what these idiots did. I got a story for you.
Kind of like the deer in my.
Kind of like circles back to the deer.
All the way back. Yeah.
Trump was just talking about that on we had that on our last episode of our podcast. Trump talking about how he was on somebody's podcast. I don't know who. I didn't recognize him. But he's like, I am a mostly honest person. And the guys were just cracking up. I'm like, honestly, that's probably the most honest thing he said, because he doesn't quantify what mostly is. I mean, 51% is still mostly. I would wager that at least 51% of things he said is true. That's like every other sentence. He's being an honest politician there by saying, I'm mostly honest.
Well, at least he said that he's mostly honest. I mean, most of those politicians try to say that they're completely honest, and they're probably not even mostly honest.
I like how we're really quantifying this with probably and mostly.
Yeah. Well,
it makes it official.
We don't want to get shut down for defamation or something because we called a politician a liar at some point.
I didn't say they were lying. I said that they're mostly dishonest.
Well,
yes.
True.
Sure.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll fuck around and find out, and we get a lawsuit in the mail. Oh, this podcast was
cease and desist letter.
Well, that's why we're in an LLC, right? And very, very, very hard to sue us, right? gotta do something really, really bad. Speaking of that, I was just at AUSA conference in DC, big lobbyist for the Army guys, and it's ridiculous the amount of people there and the amount of money spent on the industrial war machine. And I love going there. And you know who did? I didn't know that was there and even building it was there. Ryan Hendrickson was there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he was on our podcast.
Yeah, well, for sure. I saw that one. He came on ours, and then he even came on ours from when he was in Ukraine, talking about, what he was doing. And Bill, who does our fight shows on Saturday morning with us for UFC, he's the Garrison CSM. He was a JFO for 7th Group. And Ryan, he's the one that was in the talk when they dropped that 500-pounder on top of him, and they're in there saying, is that a friendly? Nope, not a friendly, and that comes over the radio like Jesus. But no, I was glad to see that he was doing well. I wish I could have ran into him, but I was saying that because you run into all your old buddies, and especially since Veteran Trash Talk started, this is going to kind of segue into what Kevin's doing. We started it as our own kind of therapy to just bullshit with each other. And during COVID, when we just had a feeling that active duty suicides, because we were all active duty still at the time, active duty suicides were going to go on the rise when we started doing this dumb COVID shit. But the op tempo wasn't going to slow down. So it's like now when these guys are doing all the training and all this, they're just sitting in their rooms and they can't even leave their house, right? You knew domestic violences were going to spike, all this stuff. So we're like, let's just create some kind of thing where we can get on and bullshit and have a good time. Thankfully to everybody watching and commenting on the chat, we have a pretty good solid following. And then when we got Gruntworks, we have almost close to 1 million followers now. And we're like, we got to do something good with this. And we thought, let's promote veteran and first responder owned businesses. Let's just find out, and let's try to change the narrative of the dysfunctional veteran to the narrative of, oh no, you can use everything you learned and everything you've done to become awesome in the military to be awesome on the corporate side. And I have been following Kevin on LinkedIn for quite some time now. Been a big fan of his. Let me say the Vet Collective. Now, when you look it up, you got to scroll a little bit. You're going to need a new what's it called? SEO, search engine optimization, because all the veterinarian clinics come up when you search it first. But
we'll talk to a guy about that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We have a great one if you want him. He does it for free anyways, especially if I ask him to. And then it's also the veteranpreneur, right? Did I say that right as well?
For the newsletter?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Monday morning Vetrepreneur.
Vetrepreneur is pretty freaking awesome. And we're about to get into all of that. And he partnered up with Greg, retired Green Beret. And then they have their podcast now called Harder, Not Smarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to a few episodes of it. Phenomenal. And again, we just want to, when I write the script, it's just, it's a joke about just to kind of make fun of the guest. And it is the Trash Talk Hour, so you got to deal with it. What I was curious when whenever I follow a Navy SEAL on LinkedIn, I'm like, well, how come this guy's not making any movies? When's
the book deal actually happen?
He doesn't have a book. There's no movies. Like, is he just like trying to do something to be
you even relevant? A SEAL at that point if you don't have a book? Are you?
My movie deal's through my OnlyFans, but you have to find it. It's all free.
Yeah. Your trident is a whole different color. It's only got like 2 prongs instead of all of them. You know what I mean? Like,
it's rainbow coated too.
Yeah. And so, we'd love for him to discuss, why he didn't do anything cool enough to make a movie or write a book about, like every other Navy SEAL. But that's not really what we brought him on the show for. We brought him on the show to just kind of talk about what you got going on, how people can subscribe, how people can find you, and what you've been doing since you got out. Because I don't want to spoil it because I've seen most of it. Because like I said, I've been following you for a while. So Kevin, welcome to the Trash Talk Hour. The floor is yours. Tell us what you got going on.
I appreciate it, man. It's good to be on here. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head when you were talking about the suicide and mental issues earlier. I got out February 29th of 2020. It was literally 2 weeks before California and all their wisdom decided to shut everything down for COVID, including the beaches, the parks. You couldn't even go for a walk on a trail without some Karen calling the cops on you. It was just like a stupid time. And so not only am I leaving the military after 12 years trying to navigate what I'm going to be doing next, I'm also figuring out, what the direction of America and the world is going to be. All the preconceived ideas of what my transition out of the military was going to be were completely thrown out the window with all this stuff. My first job offer was rescinded because they're like, we don't know what's going on. We don't want to hire you and then just have to lay you off again. It actually all worked out well for me in the end. They resent me an offer letter. They're like, you're actually just going to work completely from home now. I've never actually stepped into an office since I've gotten out of the military, which is nice. And it put me on a very different path than I would have gone on my own. I had zero entrepreneurial ideas or aspirations when I first left the military. I went through the Honor Foundation. Quick shout out to them. Phenomenal organization helping team guys. Originally, it was just team guys helping them transition out, find jobs, find their next purpose in life. And they've since expanded on to the broader SOCOM community. If you Green Beret, MARSOC, Ranger, if you're a support personnel for someone in SOCOM, they all have access to this great organization. And I think they just opened up their 10th campus. So they're doing a lot of good work helping guys figure out what it is they're going to do next. But I was going through that, my idea was going to be the typical team guy. I was going to go into operations for some startup company. I was going to make my millions and it was going to be great because startups are the way to go, right? Nothing romanticized about them. But as I started interviewing with a lot of these companies, all I can think about was how stupid their fucking product or service was. Like, I'm not going to say the name of the company because nothing wrong with them. It was more of my first impression of, I had this big idea of what working in corporate America in business was going to be. Like, everything was about making this great product or service. And it was like basically a revision of Airbnb, but for corporate companies. And every time they started talking about the stuff they're doing, I'm like, I have zero excitement about what you're saying right now. I also have no desire to do any more spreadsheets or PowerPoints or stuff like that. And like operations is obviously not going to be a good fit for me. So huge help for me to figure out what I actually didn't want to do, and ended up stumbling into recruiting. Now, originally for me, sales and recruiting is basically HR. HR is Toby from The Office. I have no interest in getting involved with that type of stuff. But as I started talking to guys that were outside agency recruiters, like, actually, this job sounds pretty fucking cool. They largely work remotely. They choose their hours. They make really good money. They just get to talk and connect with people all day. And they get a ton of freedom and flexibility in their work. And they get to, they're working with a bunch of different companies and not just focus on one thing. And so the more that I talked about, actually, that sounds kind of cool. Ended up getting a job as a recruiter when I got out, and I lasted 10 months before I realized I do not like working for somebody else. I got COVID. It was at the end of the year. My commission was about to get reset. All my deals had closed. I was going to be going into January with 0 new deals in the pipeline, and my commission resetting back to the base amount. I'm like, I could go back in January and have everything baselined, or I can just go start my own recruiting agency. It doesn't seem that hard to run a business. These guys that were running the business I was working at were nothing special. You know, they didn't have some business degree. They didn't have their MBAs. They didn't have decades of experience in that industry. So I made the decision to pull chocks and started my own business. And I created a free Gmail. I used Excel as my CRM. I created a free logo on Google and PowerPoint. And then I paid $7,000 a year for my LinkedIn recruiter subscription. That was my total overhead. I already owned my computer. I already had internet and a cell phone. So those weren't any new expenses. I'm like, cool, I'm open for business. Oh, and then at some point I opened up an LLC, to make it official. But I didn't have a website for a year and a half. I didn't need it. I just figured it out as I went and realized how much fun running your own business is. And I wanted to be able to bring that to more veterans that, like me, probably didn't realize that entrepreneurship, business ownership was an option. Like, as I said, for me, I thought to open a business or start a business, you had to come up with some crazy new idea like the next Facebook or Google. But now that I've been in this for a while, the best businesses to get into have nothing to do with tech. Don't even look at venture capital, raising funds, stuff like that. It is a very small percentage of businesses. I think it's like 3% of businesses actually meet the venture capital model, and they get 97% of the attention. But if you open a plumber shop, an electrician shop, a power washing company, a moving company, a landscaping company, all these things, you don't need to create anything new. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take the exact business model. A successful business is just one that's run well. You don't have to have some crazy idea that's unique. That's going to, as they say, disrupt the whole industry. That's just buzzwords that make people feel good when they're trying to raise money. And so that's what I've been trying to do for the last 2 years now. And I brought Greg Van Dyne, my business partner, the former Green Beret, on board. And our main focus now is getting veterans into the driver's seat, whether they open a franchise, they start their own business, or they buy into an existing business. And we're putting all our effort into getting as many veterans into this path as possible, because we just do so much better when we have control of our life, of our career. You can create some level of generational wealth. Not every business is going to be a 7, 8, 9-figure business, but getting you in the high 6 figures, cresting up on $1 million a year. I think it's 4% of businesses ever hit $1 million a year, but veterans have a remarkable track record in business. I think we own 11% of the businesses started in 2022 were by veterans, but we're like 2% of the population. So it's a huge disproportionate ratio of veterans running businesses and veterans in the population. And I'll stop there for a second because I've been rambling.
If it wasn't for veteran-owned businesses, the T-shirt and coffee industry would be flat.
There'd be nothing.
Or
the whiskey industry.
Yeah, exactly. So
For sure.
I got a question for you. But as far as like starting your own business, did you think that did seeing, I don't know how the SEAL community works as far as efficiency. Did you see that did the inefficiency that you went through for 12 years with your military job help you like say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, and streamline what you're actually doing? Like, is that one of the benefits to being a veteran and open up a business is you being more efficient?
I think what really serves veterans well is, and do you guys have that whole message to Garcia story in the Army? Is that something you guys teach each other?
No,
Nope.
no,
It's an old story. I think it's more of a Navy thing, Marine thing. But basically, the gist of it is figure it the fuck out. Like, you're not always going to have someone telling you how to do stuff. It's just like, here's the thing we want you to go do. Now go do it. We're not going to give you directions on how to do it. We're just going to give you the what. Set up this fob. Like we had Michael Clemmer from Aerial Resupply Coffee.
I was just going to bring him up about the coffee thing. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah, he's great. But yeah, going back to veterans starting coffee shops, he loves ripping on that whole thing. Like, oh, look, another veteran-owned coffee shop. Look at them.
Dude's killing it. Dude
he's
is
doing
killing
great.
it. Yeah.
But he was talking about how at one point when he was a captain, he was told to just go set up a fob. He was brought up to a hillside. They're like, make a fob there. And then they left. He's like, the fuck? I never built a fob before. And he had to go figure out, like, what are the things I need? What's the equipment I need? How many personnel? Where do I put equipment? Where do I, what's the layout of it? That's what veterans are really good at. It's probably more of a issue within the military that it's just self-solved. Like, it's not great leadership that they do that type of stuff. Like, here, go build a fob, and then we walk away and expect it done. But it creates a mentality of, I'll find the answers because I'm not going to fail in my job here. And that's literally all entrepreneurship and business ownership is. It's being able to look ahead, see what problems might be there. So any op plan, you're going to look at contingencies. We do that every single time. We go into pretty much every plan with a 70% solution because you just know it's going to get fucked. And you're okay with it getting messed up as soon as you hit the ground. You're like, oh, that's not a 3-foot wall. That's a 7-foot wall. Way to go, Intel. You hooked us up. But you're not just going to get back on the helicopter and leave. You're like, all right, bend over, new guy. We're going to crawl up your back and get over this ladder. And we're going to, teamwork over this thing. That's, again, what entrepreneurship is. You may not have seen that issue coming, or you thought it was going to be different. You get there. You don't just curl up into a ball and say, oh, woe is me. I'm such a victim here. You're like, no, I'm going to figure it out. It might not be the solution you want at the moment, but it'll be the solution that lets you live another day. And entrepreneurship is just about living. And Simon Sinek talks about it. It's an infinite game. The game is to stay in the game.
Yeah, I think that the other I guess benefit to being in the military is that we're not used to working 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, punching out and going home. It's like you're done when the job is done, and then you move on to the next job and do the next job the next day until it gets done.
Yeah, you're just finding work.
Yeah, exactly. I think civilians don't. I mean, I guarantee there are some that do, but for the most part, I think we definitely are more proactive than our counterparts, if you will.
For sure. And I wanted to bring something up about, with what you're saying about veteran-owned businesses. And, you saw the military grow drastically, and then, you had then a reduction, and then now they're trying to get numbers back up again. And they were talking, you just see a trend in American society where people don't want to work. Right? They don't want to do any hard work, especially, and they all want to have the 2-story house and the 2 cars and work in an office where somebody else works for them without doing the work to get there. And I made a post, I don't know, probably 5 years ago, when I was like, y'all better watch out with these veterans that are hitting the job market. I was like, they are going to come in and just run you all out, right? And then owning businesses. We never thought we'd own a business at Veteran Trash Talk. And it's like, now that we have sponsors and we have a great following, I mean, we pay our employees as much as we can, right? We don't even take paychecks as the owners. And it's like, I try to just keep the thing growing. And we always talk about, there's 72,000 nonprofits for veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to promote every single one of them, trying to help. Now, your podcast being very similar, so I'm kind of like transition to your podcast. When did it turn into like, hey, let's start a podcast, and then talk about the title, right? Harder, Not Smarter. And for everybody listening right now, and a lot of people will listen afterwards, we've had pretty good viewership today. Again, it's get out there and do it yourself. You've done it before. You did it in the military all the time. How many times did you do something during the day and all you had was, like you said, the very minimal guidance to get after it?
And no resources.
Yeah, no, exactly. No resources. A good paratrooper just goes and takes other resources, but you go to jail in the corporate world for doing that. But you go figure out how to do it. But yeah, talk about that, Kevin. Like transition to the podcast, the title, and again, I think there's not enough veteran podcasts out there explaining and just giving a path for somebody to listen to that try that path.
Yeah. So I started off doing a newsletter, the Monday Morning Vetrepreneur, mixture of veteran and entrepreneur. If you're a little bit of an ASVAB waiver and you couldn't figure that out. And the idea was that I wanted to find veterans who had started businesses and highlight what they've done. So it's a two-pronged effect. You're able to spotlight a veteran's business and hopefully push them some traction their way. But also for everyone else that's reading it, you're trying to give them inspiration and knowledge to show what other people have done. Like not everybody was not everyone got out and got their MBA from Harvard and then got picked up by Boston Consulting Group and then got hired by this other company and made great connections and was able to start this business that became a unicorn in a couple of years. Like that's not the normal path. That's just what you read about because it's sexy and Forbes likes making articles about that. The majority of business owners had nothing to do with business school. They've never been to business school. A lot of them haven't even finished college, but they have an idea of what value they want to offer. And then they just go do it. 90% of starting a business is just starting the business and figuring out as you go. You can't go in there with a perfect plan and then being like, all right, I'm just going to push the go button. Everything's just going to fall into place. It's going to be great. No, you need to struggle a little bit. You need to figure out what the market actually wants, what your what the customer actually needs. Is what you think they want actually what they want, or does it need to be changed, or you just completely off mark and you need to start completely over. But having these case studies essentially of like one of the guys we talked to is Sean Haggerty of Protector Brewery. I love highlighting him. He was episode 1 of our podcast. He's a former team guy. He did get his MBA, but is more of, I don't know what I want to do when I get out. Yeah. And it's a good transition thing if you don't know, but don't just do it because you think it's going to be the thing that gets you the job. But he started an organic brewery here in San Diego. They've been doing well. They just opened up a pub restaurant at the base floor of the Intercontinental Hotel. Like they're doing phenomenal work. But we get to spotlight people like him and talk about all the things he went through and the different phases of running a business where, they had the core founder group, and then they've had to slowly release some of them, or some of them have become silent owners. They don't have any control anymore because their skills that were there at the beginning aren't necessary for where they are now. And so the podcast was an extension of that. We're like, well, if we're having these conversations with these guys and putting it into writing, why don't we just record the conversation we have with them, and make them entertaining and get a broader audience. And honestly, what we found is the newsletter market is super saturated. ChatGPT kind of fucked it. When you can just go on there and say, write me a newsletter, and there's so much reference for that algorithm to be able to pull from that I'm guilty. Like I used it for certain things to help me come up with ideas and structuring and editing and all that stuff. But it is getting to the point where so many people can just run on there and put out a newsletter every week that's pretty garbage. If you start using Chat GPT enough, you start seeing common trends.
Isms that are in there.
There's certain things. The easiest one, you'll see this all the time. In a world where ... ChatGPT loves that phrase. And I started seeing that in newsletters. I'm like, all right, newsletters are dead because it's just too easy to jump in now. And so we've largely sidelined the newsletter and are putting our full effort into the podcast because people want to have real interactions. They want to see the raw conversations and details and mannerisms and inflection and tone. You don't get that in a newsletter, but when you have a conversation with somebody, it becomes much more personal and people feel like they're actually inside that room, part of that conversation. So we're doubling down on that, having entrepreneurs on there, but we basically have 4 tenets we want to talk about: entrepreneurship, mental health, mindset, and career transition. And so the good news is we can make most topics at least tangentially touch one of those pillars. But we get to have a lot of really interesting people on. Like episode 40, we just launched on Wednesday. We had Norman Ohler. Actually, I have his book right here. For anybody that hasn't read it, Tripped, Nazi Germany, the CIA, and the Dawn of the Psychedelic Age.
Oh, that's right, with the LSD, right?
Yeah, it is insane, the story of LSD. First off, I thought LSD was like this crazy, like horrible, not horrible, but like, very toxic chemical stuff. It's a derivative of a like a bacteria growth on wheat that they were able to kind of splice around with, add some chemicals, and this thing spun out of it.
I was listening to that, and they were spiking CIA guys were having parties and spiking their drinks with it.
Well, first off, Sandoz, the company that created it originally, they didn't know what the fuck it was, and this was the 40s. They literally had an intoxication room where you can just be like, hey, I'm on my lunch break. Can I go drop some acid, then some LSD? And there's a spirit world. There's a secretary in there typing away, being like, what are you feeling right now, buddy? Tell me about your thoughts. What are you hearing? What do you smell? And they're like just collecting data off the employees that are just tripping in the middle of like a Tuesday in the office in Switzerland.
The funny thing is, like, the CIA, like in the 40s and 50s, was fucking wild. Like, they were doing a bizarre
place.
If you had a weird ass idea, you could bring it up. Like, just
MK Ultra. Like, for anybody not familiar with MK Ultra, was the CIA's project to use LSD to figure out if there's like a truth serum. Can you manipulate people? Can you turn them into Manchurian candidates?
Yeah.
And so Norman was talking about in this book, the CIA would have parties at people's houses, and it got to the point CIA members were walking around with their own bottles of wine with their thumb over the top because they were so worried that someone else was going to spike them with LSD. It was happening that much. Like, people were losing their mind. They thought they were just like going insane, and they would run off into the
Diddy party.
There was the original Diddy party. There was a CIA party.
Ain't no party like a CIA party.
So we just had Norman on the show, get to talk with him. And he wrote the book because his mom has Alzheimer's, I believe, dementia, Alzheimer's, one of those. And he had heard clinical anecdotal stuff that LSD had some huge benefits for people with memory issues. And so he started doing research into it and found all this stuff. He's used a lot of drugs himself, so he's very well experienced and can talk personally and very eloquently about it. But the story is just phenomenal. He ties it all really well in. But the podcast has been so much fun getting to talk with him. We had a woman that does ketamine based therapy for people with mental illnesses and PTSD. We've had Mark Devine on talking about mindfulness. We've had I mentioned Sean Haggerty talking about his business. We just get to have this great variety of people. We had Nick Lavery on recently. That dude is a fucking stud. For the guys that don't know him, he's the SF guy. I don't want to say 2014. He was in a green on blue ambush and got hit with a disco round in his leg, lost his leg above his knee. Like, basically, he has like a little stump of femur left, but it was just enough that he actually has some kind of a leg. He was able to save, where they were able to save some of it. and he's been the first above the knee amputee to go back on full operational status as a Green Beret. He's a warrant officer. He's also a massive human being, former football player, super Boston too. Like you can hear the muscle in his accent.
Funny is just before or after he went to dive school, because he was also the first amputee to go to and pass dive school down in Key West for the Army. Anyway, we would go into, because he's a fifth group guy, and we got our own, like our gym or whatever. We'd go into the gym, and you'd look over, and a massive dude with one leg deadlifting like 500 pounds, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm going home.
He's
doubling my deadlift.
That's why I stopped working out too.
Yeah. I saw Nick at the gym. I'm like, nope, I quit.
Yeah, like when you look at him, you look at the other guys and be like, what's your excuse for skipping leg day? Because this guy's not, and he ain't got but one of them. Like,
maybe that's easier for him. It doesn't hurt as much when you only have one.
Yeah, lower center of gravity. I don't know, some kind of excuse. Yeah,
there's got to be something we can make up here. Make me feel better about myself.
Yeah, and he is 100% super Bostonian. Like his accent is fucking it's pretty thick.
To get back to your question though of the name, so we had two reasons behind it. The first one is it's telling you to do things harder, not smarter. Kind of like your shirt, it's not necessarily for the person reading, it's for the person wearing it. Right. I had I think it was the CEO of Buds at the time when we finished Hell Week. He told you to do something every day that challenges you, that makes you feel uncomfortable, to never get complacent. And I think there's just too many people out there that are looking for that shortcut answer of how can we make this easier? How do we not put in the work and still get to the same result? You're talking about it, that a lot of the stigma is that people these days don't want to work. They just want to have the manager role without the experience and the actual leadership to be able to earn it. So we're a big proponent of sometimes like there's no easy way through Buds. There's no easy way through the Q course. There's no easy way through Ranger School or RAS. Sometimes you just need to put your head down and go through that brick wall and stop looking for the smarter way. Just put in the effort and go through it. The other side,
but you do get weekends off in Buds to do laundry.
Just some weekends, not on the island.
The thing is that I think what you realize is that, I don't know, the hard Army schools that I ever went to, you got an apathy for your own plight. Like you were like, well, this sucks, but it is what it is. It's going to suck regardless. I might as well put my head down.
But it sucks for everybody around you. So it's
It's just, but when you get done with it, there's a sense of actual accomplishment as opposed to like not being fulfilled at all from taking the kind of the easy route.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Buddy's been to every school in the Army. So he I think he was an instructor of I think he was head of the schoolhouse for 5 of them. So it was he just ran off.
It must Kevin, be the Alabama game.
I think it's at halftime. I think he should be good.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I wanted to highlight, that I think of a way to put this for people watching and listening. It's like that work harder, not smarter. They're catchphrases, but again, like you said, and the same thing with Triggered Pansy is, it's a reminder to ourselves. And I think about that a lot when you think about, an offensive operation in the military. I know in the Ranger community and in the infantry community, it was SCAT, right? It was the 4, surprise, concentration, audacity, and tempo, right? And audacity was a simple plan, boldly executed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know how many times I've seen since I've been out where there's such a great idea, a great concept, and you overthink it other than just going and doing it and failing through the process of getting better and finding out what we can learn. What are your experiences with the guests that you've had on, or even your experience in the military? Is any of that is that anything part of the title where it's like, hey, make a simple plan and go do it and work hard at it?
That, and the other side is that Greg and I can both attest to it, and pretty much everybody that's ever started a business, they've done things oftentimes harder, not smarter, not because they did it on purpose, but it's just that's how it worked out. They didn't ask for help. They didn't do the research beforehand. They didn't analyze what was actually going to happen. Then it come up with a good enough plan. They just started working, and as they're looking back, they're like, man, that was a whole lot harder than it needed to be. And I think that's just part of running a business, is that having the momentum and moving forward is so much more valuable than figuring out the best way, especially as you're getting started. Like once you become a bigger company, yes, you need to make smart choices. And you should always try to make smart choices. But as you're getting started, so much of it is just about getting that initial movement. The line I use all the time is you can't steer a ship that isn't moving. You need to have that forward momentum before you can course correct. So just getting out there, getting started, putting some rounds down range, and then adjusting fire as you go is a much better and more successful way of going about business than trying to get all your ducks in a row perfectly, having all the marketing stuff, all the sales stuff ready, all the product stuff perfect, having all the customer conversations. Like if you wait for all of that, someone else is going to step in. Well, someone else is going to step in and take it too.
Right. And so, but I do want to tell the audience, and like I said, the people that will download this later, is we're not making it seem that simple. You still have to, know what you're doing.
Yes.
Right. You still have to have have a thought out plan of what you wanted to do. But, what Kevin's saying, and we've said this on the show a bunch of times, is, get off the couch and go put it in play. Right. Put it in play and see what happens. But nobody's telling you out there that you should just drop, your life savings on something and just go try it. Like nobody's saying that, but the more and more you think about it, just get off your ass and go do it. Right. And find out if it's going to work or not. And then keep that end
around
state.
and find out.
Yeah,
exactly.
It seems like the people that I've talked to that start their own business, especially veterans, the one thing they tend to, like, the pitfall they fall into is that they don't scale correctly. Like they either want to start too big, or they have a plan to start small or even medium. That's a solid plan. But before they even start, like, getting that in, like, they're opening up a machine shop, or they're opening up a mechanics, like before they even get their first customer, they're like, well, like, I'm gonna open up a bigger shop so I can get more customers in here and, like, hire 15 people. You're like, brother, like, you haven't even started making any money yet. You might want to just, like, that's great to have a plan that you're gonna.
Or they do the opposite and they basically remain a solopreneur for life, or they become an owner operator for life, where they're basically just an employee of their own company. I think the average salary of an entrepreneur in the U.S. is $65,000. They're just an employee that they made a job for. And so it is important to know that while a lot of technically savvy people will start a business in that industry, like, hey, I was a plumber and I'm going to go do it on my own. I'm an electrician, I'm going to go do it on my own. Or I'm a CNS guy and I'm going to go do it on my own. At some point, you have to transition away from doing the job to running the business. And you need to bring in people to do the job. You need to separate yourself from that. And a lot of people struggle from that. They just forever stay as an operator within their own company.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's why I brought in Buddy. Because I was I just want you to make the funny jokes now, and I'm gonna.
I'll drink the whiskey. You make the jokes.
There's something to be said for people that want that just they want to do the job, like they want to be a plumber, but they don't want to work for anybody. But they also don't want to deal with, like, the hassle of having employees that they have to manage or whatever. Like they just don't want any. They're just like, so they create their own business,
minimal responsibility,
and it's just what they're like. That's what they're doing. They're going to do it until they're done, and then they're going to retire and go, hang out and wait.
The entrepreneurship route, though, is only a small segment of who we really want to help. Like, starting a business is great, but it's super fucking hard, and there's a whole lot of challenges, and there's a huge failure rate. The two other ways that we really try to drive veterans is into buying a business and opening a franchise. They both come with their own issues and pros and cons to each of them, but both of them are significantly more successful earlier too, which is the important part. Like, yeah, you might have a successful business that you start, but you're probably not going to really be profitable for 5-10 years.
Sure.
So if you're able to open a franchise, which is already proven its business model, you already have a customer base that knows about the product. There's already product market fit. They already have manufacturing and logistical trains already in place. You can just jump. I liken opening a franchise to taking over a fob. Like you're not creating everything. You're not creating the strategy and the campaign plan for that region. You're just running your facility. You're running the ops out of it. You're running the people, but you have supplies coming in that's coming from outside. They're giving you the broader scheme of what the commander's intent is going to be and how the marketing and everything is going to be done. You just need to run your shop. And it basically comes with an entire playbook. You have the SOPs of how they do everything. Like McDonald's is a horrible franchise to get into. It's super expensive and food is just a terrible industry. I would discourage anybody from getting into food franchises, but it's only like 1 out of 9 franchises is actually food related. Like think anything home service. Serve Pro is a great example. The restoration company. If you have flood damage, smoke damage, fire damage, they do all the fixing. Roofing companies, landscaping, electrician companies, all those can be franchises. But with McDonald's, like they literally have a checklist for everything they do. Making French fries, checklist. Making a burger, checklist. Opening the cash register, checklist. Running the drive-through, checklist. You don't need to think about anything. It's there. You just need to train your people how to do things well. And every good franchise has stuff like that. And the groups that we work with, VetFran particularly, they've already gone through and vetted these businesses. They've shown that they're profitable, that they take care of the franchisees, that they'll make sure that you're not going to put you in a bad situation, that they're there to support you. And so your likelihood of success goes through the roof. And that a lot of them will also offer discounts to veterans. Some of them will even waive the initial fee just to because they want veterans so badly. We were just talking about earlier why we do so well as employees. The same thing we do well as franchise owners. We can follow checklists. We can lead people. We can talk to the business executives as well as we can talk to the workers in the shop. We can chameleon ourselves across like that. And so every franchise wants veterans. So they bend over backwards to get you in there. And the other side is buying a business. It takes a lot more capital up front, but we work with a group called Clearly Acquired that helps you analyze deals, make sure they're good. They have the back end support with lawyers and financing groups. It comes down to the creativity of the finance team to come up with the funds. And if it's a good business, which will help you find, the banks want to buy into it because they know businesses return dividends. So if you can find a good business, they're going to want to fund that loan so you can get that business and keep it functioning. They want.
What would you say, like so I mean, it's clear what the difference between a franchise and buying a business is, but what are examples of like businesses that you're talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Because it's, if somebody's running a profitable business and then
so franchise,
you even go into like buying a business from somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So a franchise, as I mentioned, Serve Pros, there's landscaping companies, stuff like that. So you're buying a location and you're reporting up to the higher headquarters team to on how they run things. So you don't have to come up with a strategy. Conversely, you also don't get to come up with a strategy. They're going to tell you how to run your marketing. They're going to tell you how to do all these processes. They're going to tell you how to stock your store and everything. On the ownership side, you get full rights to do everything you want. It's yours to screw up, really. Some examples, with Clearly Acquired, they just purchased a excavation company out in Maryland. Mm-hmm. So, backhoes are doing environmental excavation stuff. And so they want to get a veteran in there because now, as a SDVOSB, service disabled veteran owned small business, terrible acronym, they can now bid on state and federal contracts and get priority stuff. And so by having a company like that, there's actual contracts they can get. I hear all the time, as a coffee shop, should I become an SDVOSB? Probably not. Like, unless you're trying to sell coffee to the federal government, you don't get any special treatment by just being SDVOSB unless you put a sticker on the front of your shop saying veteran owned. You get pity points, I guess, but it doesn't give you any advantage over another business.
Right.
So there's the type of stuff. There's excavation companies. There's manufacturing companies. Buying factories. You can buy car washes. You can go the Cody Sanchez route and buy a laundromat. There's all kinds of single own or single location and even multi-location businesses out there. It's just really the scale of the cost that it comes into.
Yeah. I've got a guy I used to work with at Fifth Group that a couple of them got together and built a laundromat down in the end world of the Southwest or Southeast. Not a huge deal here in Clarksville.
You're too used to me saying the Yale of the Southwest, which is UTEP, where
True.
I got my master's from. So it's like a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
Yale, I like that.
It's San Diego might be nice, but it's no
El Paso.
Clarksville.
No, it's no Clarksville. Yeah,
not Clarksville, Tennessee. So.
Kevin, I just became your northern neighbor. I moved up to Santa Clarita, Northern County of LA.
Oh, nice. LA is a bit of a dumpster fire.
Right, for sure, and it goes with the logo of our company, so it works out perfect. But I'm in the Mike Garcia area, the Navy rep. That's the congressman that runs Santa Clarita and Saugus area. Pretty cool area. I just wanted to thank you for coming on. And again, kind of like the man crush. When I started following your page, and you look at you look at some of the guests that you've had, and we've had for 4 years we've had hundreds of guests on, and every one of them brings a little bit different wealth of knowledge that somebody watching can learn from, and somebody watching can get better from. Who is your favorite guest so far in your 40 episodes?
We've had a lot of good ones.
Oh, yeah. And don't say Eric Wan, because he was like our second guest like 4 years ago. So.
Oh, you had him? He's awesome, dude.
Right when he first started it. It was great. Yeah.
Eric Wan runs Wave Neuro. They do mental health, brain cognitive stuff. If anyone is in San Diego or LA, they have
Newport Beach, baby.
Newport, yeah. Fancy.
I've used his analogy for why PTSD is a thing neurologically for probably a half dozen times at least.
What is that?
Gave zero credit. I just act like I made it up myself. No, when he was on the show, he was talking about how they try to kind of get the basically the brain to fire at the correct, balance the wavelengths between the brain's different areas of the brain. And he was like, if your eyes are operating at like 15 megahertz and your frontal lobe is at 10 megahertz, and your one of your cortexes is at freaking 5 megahertz, then you basically are you oversaturate the frequencies that your brain's working at, which makes you have like all of the anxiety issues and all the other. It's just because you need to get your brain modulated. I say it way better than that when I'm telling people that I think are smart, and then they look at me like I'm smart, and I just kind of like rub my.
They're like, you must have went to Austin P.
Yeah, I went to the Harvard of the Southeast. Austin P. Not a huge deal.
But yeah, we've had some fun guests on that. It'd be tough to just honestly the best conversation, just because he held the conversation really well. We haven't aired it yet. It's coming up. It's actually going to be a 2-part episode because we talked for like 2+ hours. Is Greg Putnam. He's a biased. He's a former team guy. He was STVs. And the joke was that he's like, I had to sit on a stupid mini sub for 8 to 12 hours, not being able to talk. So now I can't shut the fuck up. It drives my wife's crazy. But he was an absolute riot talking with him about what he's done. He runs Little Belt Cattle Company out of Montana now with Tim Sheehy, another former team guy. He's actually running for senator. Looks like he's going to win. I think he's like 10 points ahead of the incumbent.
Yep.
So if you're in Montana, vote Tim Sheehy.
Montana's full of Navy SEAL reps.
Dude, if America ever gets invaded, Montana will
commander.
Never fall. What was that?
SEAL team, old Team 6 commander is a congressman up in Montana.
Yeah. I just saw him talking about.
Yeah, I got
Brad
to meet
Geary.
him. Yeah, I got to meet him. It starts with an H. Last name, man, I can't believe I'm brain farting. I'll have to call my boy Matt. Do you know Matt Frost by any chance?
No.
Oh, SEAL guy, team guy. I think he was on the Atlantic side. But I'll just look it up on here while you're talking. But keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, Greg was a riot to talk with. I mean, Nick Lavery was just inspirational. Everything he says is so perfectly eloquent, even though he sounds like a masshole. Like, he is such a smart guy and has a great story to listen to. We also had an A-10 pilot who took a surface to air missile tour, vertical aileron.
Oh, Kim Campbell. Okay,
yeah.
Killer chick. Yeah, we had her on
chick.
too. Like I said, yeah.
She has a great story. So it's tough. I don't know.
Are we brothers? Yeah,
basically.
It's Zinke. Ryan Zinke. Yeah. That's right. So I don't
know. We've had some fun ones, and I'm so excited to keep doing it. If nothing else, even if I'm making millions of dollars, I'd still keep doing the podcast because it's just fun to interact with these people and have candid conversations.
Yeah. Well, in the future, let us know anytime we can help, and like any way we can help promote your guests as well, seeing as we have a lot of the same guests on. But if you got a new one, like what's that brewery you talked about in San Diego, the organic brewery? Yeah,
Protector Brewery. It's
Protector.
Sean Haggerty.
Yeah, so anytime you have somebody, I shared the link on the Veteran Trash Talk chat, but we go live on like 5 different platforms. So like the link to the book Tripped, I shared that on the Trash Talk page. So awesome. Go on there, buy the book, and it's something about like, veterans supporting veterans. Like, why not? If you're, again, people like coffee, make fun of the coffee businesses, like, you get Ranger Up coffee, get Ranger Essentials coffee, like all kinds of to get, go to Aerial Resupply coffee. Like, just, who cares?
Have you had Michael Clemmer on the show?
Oh yeah, we had him on twice. He's been a repeat.
Dude, he's so funny.
We had him on when he first started, and then once he blew up, I was like, "You're coming back on, bro," and then we're gonna take credit for it. So it's like, which, we had nothing really to do with, but it's like we'll
take credit for it.
Yeah. But yeah, awesome. Really, really awesome to have you on. We'll have to have you back on, and maybe we get Greg on. Maybe because we have a guest host in the European hour, so
we'll have to figure out. I mean, he's, as I said, 9 hours ahead, so this is 11 p.m. going on to midnight for him. He's got 2 young boys.
Night.
He's got 2 young boys. It's 3 and 5, 4 and 6, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
I'll tell you the problem with being in Europe and then getting on this show is that usually
is what?
It's a little late in the day.
Yeah, Buddy was bleeding when he was in France. He came on the show one time. I think you fell down down some stairs.
I definitely went about 4 terraces down from the terrace that I started.
Well done.
I've been overserved. Everybody knows.
It wasn't your fault. They overserved me.
Yeah. I was pouring the drinks, but I was definitely overserved. The guy that was pouring the drinks was not responsible. That is 100% a real thing. He should learn his limitations. And then he decided that he was going to run down one of the terraces because he just thought that he could do it. What he did not count on was not being able to stop before the next one. And so,
Kevin, if you want to have a good guest on, I don't know if he's still working some podcasts. He probably is, but get old retired Colonel Nightingale on.
I don't know him.
He's the one that created the SOCOM budget.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
He's phenomenal to have on because we
Colonel
can't
Nightingale?
shut ourselves. Yeah, we can't shut it. I'll see if he's still doing something, and I'll connect you on LinkedIn with him. That was one of my favorite guests because normally we can't shut the hell up and we keep cutting each other off. And when he was talking, it was silence, like for about 40 minutes. And he was talking about him and old Ollie running, weapons down in South America, calling by that. Like,
how Oliver North got caught, but he didn't.
Yeah, because
he had better support.
Yeah, he had better. I crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's, and he's like, Ollie wasn't quite doing that so well, so he was the fall guy.
Running amok.
Yeah. What's the hey Kevin? What's the name of so the podcast is Work Harder, Not Smarter, but what's the
Just Harder, Not Smarter?
Just harder, not smarter.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, you know what?
Well, some of you don't pay attention to the events we create and your own
Look,
podcast. Yeah.
Again, like I said, I'm more into the big picture. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm up and out. You know what
I don't
mean?
deal with details.
I'm not
Details
down
are for the peasants.
We'll circle back on that. You know what I mean?
I do have one plug. We're starting our first in-person event. We'll be doing it January 31st, February 1st here in San Diego. We'll be hosting it at the Honor Foundation's campus. So thanks again. Huge shout out to the Honor Foundation for letting us use their beautiful classroom office space for this event. It's right in the middle of Sorrento Valley, which is like the Silicon Valley of biotech. It's going to be there to provide information, guidance, resources, and everything related to ETA, so entrepreneurship through acquisition, buying a business, and franchises. We're going to have Clearly Acquired out there. Samson Jagoras is their CEO. He'll be talking about ETAs. We're going to have Tom Scarda from the Franchise Academy. He's a lead rep with VetFran. He's going to be talking about everything franchises. And then Greg and I will be diving into mindset, expectation management, transition plan for everybody in the military, because we're going to have guys that are still service members getting out, guys that have already been out, business owners. And we're looking to also bring in a couple people that have bought businesses and open franchises, so that we can have like a Q&A session for everybody that wants to hear straight from the horse's mouth. So right now we're still building the website for people to sign up for it. So just follow myself and Greg Van Dyne for more details on that on LinkedIn. We'll be putting that out there. But yeah, January 31st and February 1st.
No, that's awesome. Hey, send me all that stuff whatever you have approved for release, for marketing, and we'll blast it on all of our platforms. Like I said, we own Gruntworks, and it's got about 600,000 followers, and we're approaching 160 with Veteran Trash Talk. So we'll blast it on there. And again, just really excited to have you on and what you've been doing. And then we'll see if Buddy took any notes or if he was paying attention. Oh, you got a piece of paper for the AAR. Yeah. Right. And then, but before you do that, though, I want to give a big shout out to Brittany Powell on YouTube. All right. She's been blowing up the chat thread on YouTube. She goes, "You guys are way more fun in your live than when I watch your show." She does a bunch of smiley faces and hearts. So Brittany, love you. And anybody else, we're shadow banned on YouTube. They don't like what we talk about. So please give us a like and a share. And we do say a lot of too many cuss words, and that's probably why. But just go on there and give us a follow on that. But go ahead, buddy.
Yo, so first of all, deer suck. We all know that, especially if you're on a military base. Other than that, we just talked about Harder Not Smarter, the podcast that Kevin and Greg run, and then go to collective.vet, and that's so is it a consulting firm or a headhunters firm? Like, what is
The Collective is a community platform. We're bringing everyone together that wants to be an entrepreneur, whether that's business owner or traditional entrepreneur starting a business, providing resources. As I said, we're shifting to more in-person events because being digital is fun for a while, but being face-to-face is really where it's at.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot more interactive. Like, everybody does the Zoom thing, or, they try to it's just not the same. It's just
no.
Yeah, it isn't even even video is not the same as like an in-person brick and mortar classroom or institution or whatever. Anyway, so go to collective.vet and check Kevin and Greg's.
Just don't go to the vet collective because you'll go to a veterinarian. So
Yeah, that's completely different.
Collective.vet. We're trying to promote the whole idea of veteran businesses going with the .vet ending instead of .com. See if it'll take off. I don't know. Might be a fool's errand.
For sure. But am I allowed to come down to that January 31st?
For sure.
Live event? Yeah, I'm coming down there. I'm gonna make it.
And then if you're interested, can they register on collective.vet to go to the?
We're building out that landing form now. I think Greg said he's going to have it done early next week. We just got the approval from THF, and so we're moving forward with plans. But since this is happening today on Veteran Trash Talk, I'm dropping it on there, and people can just follow me on LinkedIn. We'll have all the details from there for sure.
Okay. Like I said, make sure you hit me up. I'll remind you because I'm going to go anyways, and we'll blast it out to the masses.
Hey, and a big shout out to the Honor Foundation. They're doing a lot of great things for, especially for the soft community. And like Kevin said, they've opened up 10 different campuses. I know that the SEAL community's got a bunch. One of the guys I was in the 82nd with used to be in Charlie Company before Nick got there. Ran the campus up in Tacoma, Washington for. I think he just stopped a little while ago, but great organization, great people with a great mission. So that's all I got. That's the AAR.
All right, last word, Kevin, and then I'll close this out.
That's it, man. It was a pleasure being on here. I loved being able to just have candid conversations, shit talk about deers. Honestly, my pet peeve in the Marine Corps at Quantico was beavers. They'd create dams, which turn those tiny streams into big old ponds. Fucks with your land nav. I hated beavers.
Fuck beavers. Fuck beavers.
It was ended at that. Fuck beavers.
Fuck ducks. Fuck beavers. That's a good one to end on.
And then fuck homeless dogs.
Fuck homeless dogs, because
my wife would not agree with that. She has a bleeding heart.
There's no such thing as a homeless dog. That's what Buddy got triggered about.
Yeah, it's just dogs.
Oh, okay. I thought like you just hated stray dogs.
No,
he hates that they're called homeless dogs.
They're not homeless dogs.
They're just dogs now.
Just dogs.
That makes so much more sense. I thought you were just like angry against stray dogs. I'm like, hey, man,
no,
pick it.
I have a soft spot in my heart for stray dogs. Like I'll let them in.
We have 2 foster fails here.
But don't act like they're not happy. Like they're back in the wild. They're back at home. They're just dogs now.
The whole thing that brought that up was I went to PetSmart and they were like, give money to homeless dogs. And I was like, first of all, what are you going to go give them my money? Like you're going to give my money to the homeless dogs? Or are you just randomly throwing kibbles and bits out of your car so they have something to eat? Like, what are we even talking about? Like,
this makes so much more sense.
They're just dogs. Some people would call them coyotes or wolves or, anyway. You know what? It's going to get me riled.
I'm just going to play the video. Kevin, you feel free to stick around if you want for after the show. Otherwise, you got to go. We'll play our ending video. Great to have you on. Remember, go to shop.veterantrashtalk.com. Get yourself a Quit Being a Trigger Pansy shirt. I'm starting to laugh about the dogs, but get yourself that, and then also get yourself to TNT Mobile. If you subscribe to TNT Mobile, they give you 72 virgins. And we'll get that going. We also have the Don't Eat the Cat shirt. That's a big selling one too. Don't eat the cats. All right, we'll see you guys next week.